Okay, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. It is Friday. It is Friday, everybody. Can you believe? I don't know about you guys, but it has been one of those days. I tell you what. Um, have you ever had one of those days where it just it is one thing after another? You know what I mean? It literally is one thing. I mean, it's like, okay, stop, 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 stop. No more, no more. That's literally the kind of, so this is one of those times where we're all together, and no matter the stresses, no matter whatever you're going through, just sit back, relax, chill, and let the worry and the stress of life just kind of forget about it for just a couple of hours, just a couple of hours. Um, because I tell you what, if I think sometimes people think that clergy, we might just sit around and pray all day. No, but we don't. At least people who are clergy who are active and who actually do active ministry. It is nonstop. Usually starts at 5 a.m. for me. And it is not literally nonstop. I just sat in my chair just as I was speaking to Mr. Producer in a couple minutes. Usually I'm in here maybe 10 minutes before, but it has been one of those days where I just sat down and he said, okay, 2 minutes. I'm like, oh my goodness. It has been one of those days, but I am glad to be here because it is Friday and all the stresses and all the anxiety and all that other, just let it go. Let it go. And today we're going to have a Paranormal Friday, as we normally do. Paranormal Friday show. Today, the topic is ghost stories. Ghost stories is the topic. Should be a lot of fun. I really am looking forward to them. Let me change the little branding on this to, there we go. I'm looking forward to this one. I like all the shows, but I do like this one. Now, next week, the topic that I want to talk about is one that I think it's interesting, but it's debatable. And because people ask me about this all the time. And the topic next week is reincarnation. So we're going to talk about reincarnation next week. I'm not going to go into obviously reincarnation tonight because that's a topic for next week. But there's a lot of people who believe in reincarnation, and I speak to them often, and they ask me a lot about reincarnation, what my thoughts are, and I do have obviously my own personal thoughts on the topic. But we're going to talk about some interesting cases that just can't be explained when it comes to reincarnation, and I think that should be a lot of fun. So I'm really, really looking forward to that as well. Now, tonight is a interesting topic, of course, real ghost stories. I think all of us, alligator wrestling. I put on my Facebook page that I would like to go to alligator hunting. Now, it's interesting. A lot of people know me as Bishop James Long, but believe I do have a life outside of Bishop James Long. But I do believe in animal conservation. And so for me, you have to control the animal population. You have to, because if you did not, then, and I know a lot of people don't like, and I get it, but at the same time, if you do not control the animal population, then what we would have, at least in Kentucky, for example, deer, we would have massive amounts of bucks running around with huge antlers. And I got to tell you something, I am clergy, and I have seen personally the damage that, and not only the damage, but even fatalities that can occur when, a buck, well, thank you very much, Drags, it's very nice of you, thank you. When a buck runs out and you hit it and it comes through your windshield, or even a doe for that. But so I've seen it because as clergy, I've been called out, especially in Kentucky, on quite a few cases where people have had, a fatal accident because they hit a deer. And so for me, I don't see that as a negative thing. If we do not control the animal population, then you will have massive casualties, even more than what it already is. And that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. And so for me, I do support that. I don't really talk a whole lot about political, but I don't think that's a political issue. I think this is just a common sense issue. With anything, you have to control the animal population. If you do not, then you're going to have a major problem on your hands. So for me, that just, 23 UB said a state trooper. That's terrible. State trooper just got killed by a buck coming to the windshield. Yeah, I got to tell you, it is, it's terrible. And I have been called out, as a hospital chaplain. I've been called out and in Kentucky, especially in Kentucky. I don't know where it is like in your area, but in Kentucky, it's dangerous. I mean, there are some really, really populated areas where you have to be extremely careful, because if you're not, they will dart out right in front of you. I mean, right out in front of you. And you wouldn't think, you would think that maybe if you accidentally hit, God forbid, and I would sit there, it would tear me up if I actually hit one. But these are massive animals. These are not small animals. These are big animals. And I have seen the damage that it can happen. So God forbid, God forbid, hopefully it never happens to any of you guys or any of your family and friends. But it is dangerous. So, but yeah, I posted on my Facebook that I would like to go on an alligator hunt, to experience it, to feel the power of these alligators. I mean, that would be pretty amazing. For me, that would be amazing. Now, I will not go in a cage and take a look at huge great white sharks. That ain't gonna happen. Nope. First of all, the idea of being enclosed in a cage, that doesn't, no. And not only enclosed in a cage, but some of these cages, they have pretty large openings. I mean, seriously, some of these have you ever seen some of these shark caves or cages? They have some pretty large openings, and sometimes the great whites will get in. No. That can't happen. Now that, I would rather deal with demonic entities all day long rather than see a great big, huge, massive, great white shark get stuck in one of these cages. I saw a video once where a diver was actually he was stuck inside. The great white actually went through the cage, and because of that big old which I don't understand. Why would you have a big opening like that in the first place when you're going diving with great white sharks? That doesn't make sense to me. I want the bars to be so close to one another you couldn't even get your finger through it, let alone 2 feet. Are you out of your mind? No. But I saw a video where a great white went through one of those cages, and a diver got stuck. Actually, not diver. The guy got stuck because the great white was stuck inside that opening, and he couldn't escape. Nope. Ain't gonna happen. So, hello everybody, and welcome to the show. I appreciate that, and thank you, Clifton. And for those of you, who are on TikTok who are offering gifts, I appreciate that. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And there we go. You're helping the ministry, and I do appreciate that a lot. I really do. By the way, before we get into the topic of ghost, I do want to remind everybody I have a limited amount of these. I do not have a lot of them. So if you want, this is a Benedictine bracelet. I talked about this the other day. This necklace, I'm sorry. It's beautiful, actually. It has its front and the back. Saint Benedict is the patron saint for exorcists. I have one. I wear it as well. And this is the front and this is the back. And so I do have these on the website. You can go to bishopjameslong.com, Long, bishopjameslong.com. And it's pretty heavy. See, I'm putting it's pretty heavy, actually. And you can go to bishopjameslong.com and pick yours up today. Again, I only have a limited amount. So make sure you get it. And of course, if you buy it out of courtesy to you, I will bless it for free. And once again, you're not purchasing a blessed object. They're not blessed yet. So when you purchase them, before I send them out, I bless them as a courtesy. Seems like I've always got to do that. I've always got to say that because there's always going to be somebody who thinks they're the Pope. But anyway, yeah. Well, if the moderators are blocking people, there's a reason for it on TikTok. And normally, if the moderators block you, it is or block somebody is because they have, one, been rude and disrespectful. Two, they're cussing. Or three, they are using a demonic name. That is the only way you're going to get blocked on TikTok. And so we've made it very clear that if you're rude to somebody, you're blocked. If you're cussing, you're blocked. And if you mention demonic names, you're blocked, because we tell people all the time, don't be rude, don't cuss, and don't use demonic names. And the reason that you don't do that is because that's a form of summoning. And we don't do that. And that's the only way that you're going to get blocked. So just let everybody knows that is how it is. So, well, so you'll have to speak to them. I don't know. Yep, I have been on Ghost Adventures. I'm good friends with Zach. I am friends with Zach, and I was on the Ghost Adventures, the Bobby Mackey's episode. So again, Hetty, I appreciate that, but people are not blocked for no reason. So, okay, tonight we are going to talk about Ghost. And I would imagine, how many of you who are on TikTok, and how many of you here who are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, I'm curious, how many of you believe, just say yes or no, how many of you believe in Ghost? I'm just going to, so if you do, say yes. People do not get blocked on, folks. I'm not going to spend this time on the show arguing over who's being blocked on TikTok. I'm not going to do it. People will not get blocked because they ask who, is there any member on taps? That's not why people get blocked on TikTok. No, they do not. So, okay. Yeah. And yeah, so there's a lot. So yes. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. YTA. Thank you. Well, there's a lot of people. My 5-year-old says she sees the ghosts that live in our 200-year-old home. Goodness gracious. There's a lot of people that actually, I knew that there was going to be a lot of people, but it seems like the majority of people say yes. A lot of people will immediately say that all ghosts are demons. Now, I don't believe in that. And certainly, from my experience as an investigator, I have not found that to be truth at all. Okay. Wow. So there's quite a few of you folks. And I respect that. I do. Wow. Well, LA, I'm going to Los Angeles, April the 18th. April the 18th. So that's where I will. I'll be going there. So for that week, I won't be here. Well, no, Ryan, that's okay. Ryan, that's perfectly okay to if you're skeptic. I'm actually a skeptic. I am a skeptic, and you have to be. So Ryan Brantley on Facebook says, "I guess I'm the only skeptic on tonight." No. I am a skeptic because if I wasn't a skeptic, then I would believe 7,771 emails that I have here, which you can't see because, well, anyway, you can't see it. But 7,771 emails, I would believe every single one of them are demonic. And it's not the case. So I don't believe, I don't believe that every single case is demonic. And I think you have to have a healthy sense of skepticism. And that's important, especially when you're in this field. So that's, but there's the difference between being a skeptic and being cynical. You know what I mean? Because there are some people that are very cynical about this topic. But I do not believe. Oh, so you believe that the ghosts and spirit are interchangeable? Okay. I do not believe that every single spirit is in fact a demon. Well, see, now Peg Leg 5000 says no ghost, demons only. Okay, and again, let me just make this clear. Everybody has you have a right to your opinion, and just like I have a right to my opinion. And so I don't think let's not make past judgment on anybody, because I'm asking you because I really want you to know your opinion. And so I respect, like Peg Leg believes that all ghosts are demons, and some people don't. But see, the thing is, no, Ryan, I'm not saying that you're cynical. I'm just saying I'm trying to teach people that there's a difference between being skeptical and being cynical. I don't think you're cynical. Like I said, I agree with you. I am a skeptic. But there are some people that are just so cynical about the topic. You know what I mean? And there's a difference. So I'm teaching people the difference between, not implying that you are cynical. All right. But here's I'm just curious. Let me ask you this question before we get into it. How many of you, with a yes or no, how many of you believe that all ghosts are demons? So I'm really curious. How many of you just say yes or no? Do you believe that all ghosts are demons? Okay, Ricky says I do. No, I'll talk about the spirit box in just a second, but please understand that I'm being slammed with about 300 questions right now. So no, not sure, no, yes. Manny says yes. Because everybody Facebook, okay. Renee, yes. Manny says yes. I got you, Manny. Anthony, yes. Yeah, okay. Sarah says, yeah, that's what I was been taught. I understand. Okay. There's so the majority of you, the majority of you have said no, but some of you have said yes, which again, I respect, because we all have different, but here's the problem here. Let me just say something, because a lot of people will say, well, now, wait a minute. The Bible says that all demons are ghosts. And so a lot of people are taught this, but I want to introduce something that maybe people seem to overlook, and I've talked about this before. Remember, Scripture says just the opposite. Scripture does not say that all spirits or all ghosts are demons. As a matter of fact, we can look at Scripture and actually see that Scripture explains that ghosts exist. Hear me out, just as like I will hear you out, hear me out, for those of you who might be skeptical. Remember, and I've talked about this before, remember Luke 24, verse 36 through 51. Remember thank you very much, Aaron, thank you. Remember, after Christ was crucified, Luke 24, 36, 51, he then showed up to his disciples. And it says here, they were frightened and terrified because they thought they were seeing a ghost. That's what they said. Now, some people say, well, it meant demon. No, it did not. It's very clear in the Septuagint, in the Greek translation of the New Testament. It's very clear. You can see it's two completely different words. The way you spell demon is not the same way you spell as ghost at all. Completely two different words. It specifically says ghost. And then what did Jesus say? Jesus says, why are you so frightened? Why do you doubt? Look at my hands and see, and my feet and see that who I am. Touch me and find out for yourselves. Ghosts don't have flesh. What does that tell you? And it also says in Matthew 14, verse 26, when Jesus walked on water. And it says here, when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and cried out in fear. Again, we see where Scripture talks about a ghost. It tells you automatically then that the disciples must have had the concept of the word ghost. They've had to have the concept. Otherwise, if they didn't, they would have never mentioned it. And also, if ghosts did not exist, then Jesus would have told his disciples, guys, don't be silly. Ghosts don't exist. I don't go. But he didn't. That's not what Jesus said. He said, touch my hands, touch my feet, and you can see clearly that ghosts don't have flesh as I do. So that immediately lets me know that one, Jesus acknowledged ghosts exist, and two, that the disciples had the concept of what a ghost was. And so you have to, when you think of that perspective, then it tells you, and again, don't twist. I've studied the Greek, I've studied the Septuagint. Do not come to me and say, well, Bishop Long, they meant demon. No, they did not. That's not what it says. That's not what the original text says. And so if you clearly see it and you look, it's two different words. It is a ghost. So therefore they had the concept of what ghost is. They knew what ghosts were supposed to be. And even Jesus, and again, if ghosts did not exist, Jesus' response would have logically have been a ghost. Why do you believe in that fairy tale? Ghosts don't exist. That's not what he said. Rather, he was explaining to him what ghosts don't have, which therefore implies that they have something other than flesh. So again, if you look at the logic only, and I understand for some of you, because maybe you've always been taught that ghosts are all demons. Well, but I challenge that. I challenge that concept. And I got to tell you, as an investigator, guys, I've investigated the paranormal for 35 years. For 35 years. The first time, 35 years ago, I went to Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky. That was my very first, and I'll tell you the story. I've told it before. That was my first ever investigation. And since then, I have been in thousands of people's homes. And many of them, they think there's a demonic that's present. And many of those cases I've been able to debunk. So like Ryan said, he's a skeptic. Ryan, me too. I'm right there with you. You and me are in 100% agreement with that. So when I go into a case, when I go into someone's home and they tell me that there's a demon present, that it's harming, my goal in every case that I get involved with, my number one goal is to debunk what's occurring. That's my goal. Because as a skeptic, I have to be. And because if I don't, then every case that someone says to me it's a demon, it's not. It hasn't been. I can tell you it has not been. The majority of cases I have been able to debunk. So the things that go bump in the night, there's a reason. Logical. And I try to explain that logical reason. And there are cases that logic has to obviously say, well, there's nothing logical. You have to start looking from a theological answer. And that's where I go into the possibility of demonic activity. Now, Brian saying, should you assume a ghost is a demon until proven otherwise? Well, with my experience, though, Ryan, I have not determined that. I have not come to the conclusion that all ghosts are demons, because actually I have seen just the opposite. And here's what I mean by that. I have had cases where someone claimed a paranormal activity. Oh, I got to plug my, hold on one second. Let me plug this up. There we go. I have gone to a home and there was paranormal activity occurring. It wasn't violent. It just things open, your doors were opening and shutting. I mean, it was nothing violent. And I could not debunk these things. I couldn't debunk the activity. I just couldn't. And I tried everything. I've used all the tools in the toolbox, so to speak. I've tried everything. And it certainly wasn't poltergeist. And I began to pray. Because prayer is provocation. So if you have a demonic entity that's present in a home and you begin to pray, that is provoking. You're going to get a reaction. 100% of the time. This I can say with 100% certainty. If you have a demonic entity in a home that has infested itself in the home or building, and you begin to pray the Litany of Saints or the Hail Mary or the Our Father or Saint Michael, you will get a response. Now, sometimes this response can be very intense. And I have many times when I've been into homes that have had paranormal activity that could not be debunked, I began to pray. And the activity certainly did not increase. There was no religious objects were desecrated. There were no bangings. There was no smell of sulfur. There was no overwhelming sensation of dread. There was nothing. But the moment that I began to pray for the repose of the soul that was there, that is when I actually got a response. And the response was not negative. It was quite beautiful. As a matter of fact, there was a time where it was a family and they had some paranormal activity in the home, and the air conditioner is broke. So we were I think the living room, and it was like 95 degrees. And in Kentucky, the humidity is terrible here, terrible. So it felt like 100. I mean, it felt like 150. It was terrible. But we were all there in the living room, and I began to pray. So we were all surrounding, and I began to pray the Hail Mary, the Our Father, the Saint Michael, and then I began to pray the prayer of absolution for the forgiveness of sins, for the intercession of the guardian angels to help intercede. And then the temperature dropped. It was like 60 something degrees. It was dramatic, and this is something that we actually could verify with the little thermometer, the laser thermometer. So we actually have the evidence there to back up what we could see it. We could see the temperature drop. And again, the air conditioner wasn't working. So the air conditioner was never turned on, ever. And it wouldn't have dropped that fast anyway, from 95 degrees to, I think it was like 68, 69 was the reading. It was dramatic. And we felt this wind. I mean, like a circling wind around us. But it wasn't a violent experience. It was unbelievably beautiful. It was powerful. And as soon as the prayer of absolution started, and the prayer for the intercession for their saints, the saints and their guardian angels, man, it was powerful. So for me, I don't believe. I can only tell you from my experience, and based on my experience as an investigator and as an exorcist, I can't sit here and tell you that all ghosts are demons, because that has not been my experience. It just hasn't. And I know a lot of people have an opinion on it, and I respect everybody's right to opinion, but as an exorcist, I can't validate that, because actually the evidence that I have contradicts the statement that all ghosts are demons. So what I'm trying to do is tell you from my experience. And you can take it or leave it. You can disagree with it, whatever you want. I have no skin in this game. I'm not gaining anything from this. I'm just telling you what I have experienced, and then you can decide based on, my testimony, whether or not you're going to evaluate this or reconsider, whatever you want. That this is up to you, right? It's up to you. So anyway, that's the thing. I don't believe heaven is forced upon. Remember, people always say, now wait a minute. But the Bible says this, and the Bible says this, and the Bible. Okay, but one thing that people keep forgetting. Time and space does not exist in death. It's a very difficult concept to grasp. Einstein, this is physics. Einstein even talked about that. We exist in time and space. Right now, I can tell you that it is 7:29 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can tell you that I'm in Kentucky. I can tell you that I'm not in another state, because I am restricted in time and space. Our minds, ever since we are born, we've been formulated into, we are restricted in time and space. But when we pass on, time and space does not exist. We're no longer restricted in time and space. And it's a concept that you have to grasp. And so while you're thinking that someone is dead and resting peacefully in the grave, you've got to remember that that's a time and space reflection. That's a time and space concept, that they are sleeping for 30 years. They are sleeping for 200 years. It's a blink of an eye. because time and space doesn't exist in death. And so I don't believe that heaven is forced upon us. I simply do not believe this. I think heaven is presented to us, and we can choose, or we can choose to remain here for whatever reason. We don't know the answers, and we'll know the answers, obviously, when we breathe our last breath. So people say, no, you're wrong. Well, okay, you know what? Until you actually have died, and you know for a fact, I mean, let's kind of calm down on the, but seriously, think about that, because we know that free will exists in heaven. We know this. Thank you, J33. We know that free will exists in heaven. How? Because angels freely chose to reject God while in God's presence. So therefore, free will must exist in heaven. Otherwise, angels would have never rebelled. Angels would have never had the capacity to rebel. Satan would have never had the capacity to reject God. So therefore, logically and theologically, we know that free will exists after death. We know this. So therefore, the idea that heaven is forced upon you would then violate the very notion and theological explanation of why angels fell. If heaven is forced upon all creation, then free will doesn't exist after death. And therefore, there are no demons, and therefore there is no Satan. Because if you believe that free will cannot exist, then angels could not freely reject God. Well, that throws the whole concept of Satanism and even demonology out the window. I don't believe that. I think free will does exist. No. I never said all angels are bad. I said the angels that freely chose to reject God. Not all angels are bad. Certainly not. No, I never. Please don't misunderstand that. No, I believe we have guardian angels. Saint Michael is an angel, for goodness sake. No, never said that. I said the angels that freely chose to reject God had free will. So therefore, we can conclude logically that free will must exist in heaven. In logic, it's if, then, therefore. That's the logic. And that's what if you look at it from a logical perspective, then we know that if free will exists, heaven is presented, and you can choose, or you can choose to remain. What we choose to do while we are here, we will know when we're there. No problem, Laura. So that's the theological, I guess, whole dissertation on angelology. But just remember, you're right, absolutely. Muric, Miracana, Ninja said, remember, 1/3 of all angels fell. And that's what scripture says. So if 1/3 of all angels fell in heaven and rejected God while in God's presence, we know, obviously, if 1/3 of angels fell, then the angels freely reject God. Therefore, the conclusion has to be free will exists in heaven. Again, logic 101. You're Patricia. I tell you what, Patricia says this on YouTube. Amen for that. She says, Bishop, I've noticed a change when I ask for help from my angels. I believe that 100%. But I always tell people all the time, remember, we have guardian angels. We are assigned guardian angels. And I know my guardian angels are like, look, James, please, just let us have a break. Just kind of give us a few minutes. Let us sit back and relax on the sofa for just, obviously I'm being facetious, but yes, I believe we all have guardian angels. But remember, and this is very important, very, very important. Your guardian angel cannot, and they will not help you unless you give them permission. That is one of the most important things you need to understand about angelology. Because they will not, why? Because they will not violate your free will. Violating your free will is exactly what a demonic entity does. And that is our gift that God gives us. So therefore, that violation will never occur unless it's evil, unless it comes from an evil source, such as a fallen angel who's rejected God. But your guardian angels will never interfere unless you give them permission to. You must give them permission. And people say, well, how do you do that? Well, it's simply by acknowledging that, one, you have a guardian angel, and two, that you give them permission. So guardian angel, whoever you may be, I give you permission to intercede on my behalf to help me with X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that you're wanting your intercessory prayers for. And then watch miracles happen, but you got to give them permission to do this. And people say, well, that's not right. Yes, it is, because if they interfere without you giving them their permission, that is a violation of your free will. Again, it is a theological, simple concept of 101 theology, and they will not violate your free will. They won't, but you got to give them permission. Again, when you look at this logically, when you understand the concept of free will, if they help you without your permission, it is violating your free will. You didn't give them permission to. I mean, guys, it's simple logic. This is not graduate school theology here. It's simple logic. So that's where that's kind of like there. Well, Earth Radio has a great question. How will you know if it is your guardian angel? I tell you what, let me tell you, a guardian angel, you will always know by their presence, of calm, of peace, of love, of joy, of content. Have you ever been, if you ever ask your guardian angel to intercede and help you, have you ever felt like a weight has been lifted off your chest and you feel at peace? A demonic entity is not going to give you peace. That is one thing a demonic entity will not do. They will not give you peace and help you. They will do this, believe me, something or someone is going to pay for whatever it is that you try to summon a demon for, and ultimately you're going to pay. So if you summon a demon, you're going to know that it is present. You do not need a psychic. You don't need a medium to tell you that a demonic entity is present. You don't need that. It is overwhelming, the presence. And but try it. Do a simple prayer. A simple prayer. Guardian angel, my guardian angel, or angels, whomever you may be, I give you permission to intercede on my behalf and help me with whatever it is that you're asking for the intercession, and give it to your guardian angel. And you will, it's like that weight. It's a weight being lifted off your chest. And, it's pretty powerful. Well, people asking, well, what about the angels that help and protect you? And, there is will help you, like if you're in an emergency situation. Well, it's the same similar concept to a concept called baptism by desire. And this is Roman Catholicism. I know this Roman canon law, but you can look it up on the canon law. But for example, if, like, say you have a child and the child has not been baptized, but the parent has always had the desire to baptize the child, but they couldn't do it for a variety of reasons. Let's say a church wouldn't accept them because of X, whatever it might be. But they had the desire to have their child baptized, and the child passed away. Well, Roman canon law says that child, obviously, even though they did not receive the matter and the form, the actual substance of baptism, because the parent had the baptism by desire, that child is saved. And that, again, so if you're going to argue with me, I'm not going to pay attention to you, but look it up. It's Roman canon law. But it's the same desire for this. Let's say someone obviously is in a terrible accident, but they have the desire to obviously be saved. Well, then you can use the same concept as well. So in that case, obviously, when you have circumstances that are extenuating like this, it's a bit different. But again, we're going to know nobody is going to be able to tell you with 100% certainty that this is how it is. And there's a lot of people that think that they have that authority to do so as if they're Jesus Christ himself. That's God. The ego is extreme. On social media, it's because someone has an opinion, they think everybody has to think that way. Well, I'm sorry, narcissist, but not everybody does think that way. I like people who have different points of views, and we can talk about it and discuss it. But in the end, we're going to know all the answers, good, bad, or indifferent. But until then, we have theology, we have logic, we have these concepts that we can try to understand to the best of our limited ability, and we can discuss things with one another. But this idea that because someone has an opinion and now all of a sudden they're experts in the field, especially when it comes to the paranormal. I've noticed a lot of people have an opinion on paranormal, but they've never investigated one darn case in their life. But all of a sudden they are just experts. They know everything. It's like, really? And how many cases have you investigated? But it seems like a lot of people do have that PhD of everything that they received in their imaginary world, because that's just the way they think, and everybody else needs to think that way. I'm sorry, but life doesn't work that way. But I don't. That's why one of the reasons why I like doing the show, because I like interacting with you guys and having conversations where we can discuss them and even debate, but in a respectful way. We may not all agree with one another. I have friends that are atheists. I have friends that are pagans, that are Wiccans, that are Muslim, that are Catholic, that are Christian, that are Baptist. They're Jewish. I have friends from all walks of life. And I love talking to every single one of them because we all have different perspectives. But one thing that we never do is we've never once, on any of my good friends, we never said, well, that's stupid. That's just dumb. That's not how it is. Okay, so say you. I would hate to, just very, very arrogant, don't you think? But yeah, armchair investigators are the worst, Carla. That is so true. Yeah. Yep. Andy has a good point here. You have to be open to everything if you're getting into the paranormal. That's why we look at all angels in our team. Angles. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You have to respect. Yes, you can communicate with your angels, but be very, very careful. Let me make this very clear, because that's kind of I'm not implying that you are, but people have asked me this question many, many times before as a trick question, because then they say, Bishop Long said you can communicate with your angels, so he agrees with tarot reading and he agrees with a Ouija board. No, I do not. No, I do not. You do not need tarot cards. And you certainly do not need a Ouija board to communicate with your guardian angel. You just simply need your intent and your desire to let them intercede and help you. That is what they are there for. So there we go. All right. I did talk about our topic, of course, today is ghost stories. You're right. Yep. St. Michael. And that's why I said earlier, when you say the St. Michael, the Archangel prayer, which is a beautiful prayer. And by the way, for those of you who do not know, St. Michael, there is a long form and then there's a shorter form. And most people will pray the shorter form. And what I mean by the shorter form is St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the malice and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him. We humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander the earth, seeking the ruin of souls. So obviously I've said it probably a little bit more than once. I pray this prayer every single day. Every day when I wake up and every day when I go to bed. Every day. And that I would suggest, maybe if you don't know it, just Google it. St. Michael, short form prayer, and just kind of put it to memory. And I call upon St. Michael often, quite often, but that's what they are there for. Remember, angels are here to serve us, to help. We are created in the image of God, and we are God's children. And angels are here to help us, to protect us. So that's what God created them for, to protect us, to defend us, to be with us, to guide us, to encourage us. And that's one of the reasons why the belief is Lucifer fell, because he refused to accept the fact that we are created. But there's a lot of people being blocked. Okay, that is one of the things that I want to talk about. We are going to be talking about the Trinity. We are going to be talking about the Trinity. So, because a lot of people are very confused, because that's a very difficult concept, and I get it. And so that's at Bible study, on Bible study on Wednesday. Right now, we're at Revelation 19. So once we finish Revelation, then we're going into the concept of the Trinity. And the Holy Trinity is definitely going to take some time. And it's not going to be one of those, I'm not going to discuss the Holy Trinity in an hour show. There's no way. I wouldn't even do it, because it would just probably cause more confusion, because it is a concept that many people struggle with. Because if I say to you right now, you realize Jesus is God. Now, some of you are thinking, well, what? Some of you might have been, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm not going to go into this, because I want to give it a lot of time, a lot of patience, and breaking things down very clearly as I do in Revelation. So there we go. All right, let's talk about ghost. There is a heaven, most certainly, no question about that. I'm a 1,000,000% confident there's a heaven. I have no doubt. And I've talked about this. I'm not going to tell the story again, because I've said it so many times, but because I actually had a near-death experience where I clinically died, and I spoke to Dr. Jeffrey Long, who's a world-leading expert in near-death experience, who's a medical doctor. He confirmed that, in fact, I did. And I saw my mom, and she had passed away a year before. I have no doubt whatsoever that there's an afterlife. Well, thank you there, Jiddle. And for those of you who, if I keep saying thank you, it's because I'm running the show on two different systems, here on TikTok and here Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Okay. Again, don't forget, Bishop James Long. Go to bishopjameslong.com and click on the store link. I do have the Benedictine necklace. It really is a beautiful. It's on the front and the back side. For those of you who want to know a little bit about the Benedictines, you can go to Bishop James Long as well. And if you want to know about the medal and what they mean, well, I even have that on the website for you as well. So I break it down and I explain it all there for you. bishopjameslong.com. All right. And welcome all of you. Listen to this. Oh, yeah. Ghostly child. That's a good question. Let's see. If you see a ghostly child, could it be a demon? Let me tell you something. I do not. That's one. From my experience, I'm telling, and again, this is just from my experience. Every case, every single case, except one, and it really wasn't a case. When I saw a child as a full body apparition, or an apparition where a child was involved, every case that I investigated, that's what I'll say, it has always been a demonic. Every single one. Every single time. Now, the only time that it was not demonic, I wasn't investigating. I went to the Gates of Hell Cemetery in Kentucky. And I've talked about this. Matter of fact, I'm the one that actually named the Gates of Hell Cemetery. We did that in 2003. It's an old abandoned cemetery in Kentucky. Nobody ever heard of it before. They didn't even know. People didn't even know it existed. Nobody knew it existed. So I was on an online radio network at that time. And that's when I did the History Channel. And we were talking about this cemetery. And this was before Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff. I know I'm old. And we had went to this place, this cemetery, because a lot of satanic rituals were being performed there. And people asked me if I would go bless it. And I did. And when I was going home, I had my buddy Steve-O with me, and we were driving, and I was on the expressway, and to the right is like one of those walls, have you ever seen those like border walls or like bricks, things like that? we were going, and I looked over and I said something to Steve-O, and Steve-O looked at me, and he turned pale as a ghost. I slammed on my brakes, almost caused an accident. I almost actually hit that big old huge brick wall on the side of the expressway, and the tires were screeching and everything. So we went off the emergency lane. We both saw, and this is the only time where I saw a child. We didn't get a feeling of dread, of sick to the stomach, a lightheadedness. There was nothing. It was a little boy, and he was in the middle of the seat. He was listening to our conversation, and he was just doing this, just like this. But he was like in clothing from 1890s or so, maybe even 1880s, something like that. But we saw him as clear as day. It looked like oh gosh, what do you call those things? It's like not a virtual reality, but have you ever seen I think there was a Whitney Houston hologram. There we go, because they did a Whitney Houston hologram concert once. But that's what it looked like. It looked like a hologram. I mean, you could see a full body. I mean, the full body, the face, even the chin, everything. And he was just simply eyes, just simply listening to us. And we what in the world? We looked forward, and then we looked back, and he was gone. Yeah, hologram. Thanks, Kenny. But that's what it looked like. It looked like a hologram. And it was very fast, but it was very clear. There was a little kid in the back of my car. And that was the only time. That was the only time that I have ever seen a child where I did not feel threatened. Because in all the other cases, now you got to remember, and for those of you, keep in mind, as far as how many cases, I have 7,776 emails. There's 7,770. You can't see it. I know it causes it blurry. 7,776 emails. And I have over 12,000 messages on TikTok and over 900 messages now on Facebook Messenger. I'm telling you this because I get requests every day from all around the world to help people. Every day. I can't answer every email. I do the best I can. I do it for free. I do the best I can. And the reason I'm telling you that is because this has been happening now for 20 years. 20 years. And in every single case, except for that one time, when there was a child, a spirit that was involved, it was always demonic. Always. And pretty intense. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Maybe he was on astral projecting, dreaming in his time. Genghis Khan? Genghis Khan? That's a good point. I've heard a lot of theories. About astral projecting and the possibility that someone existing in another dimension can astral project themselves into another dimension as well. Now that's like, right? But I've heard that theory before. Of course, right now we can't prove that, but it's a theory. The only thing that I can prove is that the cases that I've had of children were demonic in nature. That's the only thing that I can prove. But as far as that is a good point, though. That is a good point. I don't know. I don't know. Mm-hmm. There were some that even said Padre Pio astral projected, meaning that he was able to communicate, or people saw him physically. It wasn't like one of those things I just said. I forgot even the name of it. But they actually saw him. So yeah, but it is an interesting theory. It is. Okay. Listen to this. Do you think angels send us messages through synchronized signs or birds seeing the same number? I got to tell you something. Yep, the ghosts are not the same thing as demons, and it says like I just mentioned that. Yeah, I talked about, again, gave two examples earlier in the show. Yep, I agree. There's so many different signs. I think a lot of times people overlook signs. For example, my aunt. And I talked to this, my sister, and I've said this before. I performed 30 documented exorcisms in 20 years of full-time ministry. And when I say documented, I'm talking about there were psychiatrists involved and there were medical professionals involved. These are people that not just because someone says, "Oh, I'm possessed and I'm flailing around like a fish out of water," with no proof. I'm talking about actual psychological evaluations, medical evaluations. It's extensive, and it needs to be. It should be. But I got to tell you, there is no doubt, obviously, that possession exists. There's no doubt about that. But it's also, I want to make it clear when it comes to possession, it's rare. But my aunt loved roses. And she told me before she passed, because I was in the seminary, and at that time I couldn't get to her when she was passing away. And she told me, "When you smell roses, I'm there." And her last words after that to me was, "Jamie, hurry." Because she was passing away and she knew she had limited time. But obviously I couldn't get there. And that was hard, but I'll never forget it because the Benedictine monks found out about this, and we prayed the prayer of the dead. And it was beautiful. It was powerful. It was very difficult that night for me, but to hear them chant in her honor was very moving. I studied with the Benedictines. I studied with the Jesuits, and so in the Roman seminary, and that was a very moving experience for me. Very moving and powerful. But in all 30 exorcisms that I have performed, every single one, right before the exorcism begins, there's an overwhelming smell of roses. Overwhelming. And I have no perfume in the oil, in the chrism that I use. None that smells like roses. But it is undeniable. And it's powerful. And so, in every single one, all 30 that I performed. So I believe certainly she's with me. There's no question about that. Listen to this. Now, of course, this is, I want to talk a little bit about ghost stories, because this is one of those things that we've heard a lot about. We have an opinion, or many of us have an opinion on ghost stories. But I want to talk about a couple of ghost stories that I found, believe it or not, in Country Living. This is from Ashley Leith. So it says here, super scary ghost stories aren't for everyone. Even people who get a thrill from Halloween movies and love to curl up with frightening books about witches or vampires will get some goosebumps from these creepy tales that I'm going to talk about in just a second. You may even live, you may live near one of the haunted places that inspired these true stories. After all, they're set all over the country. And reading after all this roundup, you might be inspired to visit one of the spooky ghost towns talked about here. So listen to this. For those of you, and again, these are true stories. If you live in Birmingham, Alabama, the Sloss Furnace. Now, my buddies, the Ghost Adventures, they've been, actually, I think every single show has been there. I think even Jack has been there. Jack Osborne. I did his show as well. I think he's been there. But listen to this. Sloss Furnace in Birmingham, Alabama was founded in 1871, 5 years after the Civil War. And with it, the need for tons of pig iron to fix America's crumbling infrastructure. So to satisfy the demand, Colonel James Withers Sloss started construction on Sloss Furnace. Now, a year later, the company opened its doors to hundreds of employees, according to official website. Now, working on blast furnaces was an advanced job, and it was also dangerous. The danger was soon realized as many workers started being incinerated in the furnaces and falling to their deaths. Conditions only worsened in the early 1900s after a cruel, nasty foreman named James Slag Wormwood took a job at Sloss. Now, according to Reader's Digest, Wormwood took dangerous risk in order to increase production. And as a result, nearly 50 employees died on site, and many were involved in terrible accidents during his tenure. Allegedly, in retaliation, his workers tossed him into the furnace in 1906. Now, you can still tour the grounds today if you dare. And while there, you might just hear the voice of Slag telling his employees to get back to work. Along with other paranormal occurrences, Sloss even hosts a Fright Night every year around Halloween that's based heavily on the Slag story. I don't know, have you guys been to the have you guys been there before? I've never been to the Sloss furnace. Oh, I was going to. Yeah, I've never been. I've wanted to, but I never did. I'm just one of those things that just kind of like, it seems like a lot of, no. Oh, you have? So music fan Mama 77 said, yeah. Oh, you've investigated. Bama Girly and music fan. Did you guys capture anything? I mean, since you've been there, was there anything that you captured that you can kind of share with us? Because like I said, I've never been there, but I know that, Bama Girly says yes with exclamation. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people apparently have been there. Yeah. I know the Ghost Adventures was there. I talked to Zach about that, and they captured quite a bit of information there as well. The book was The Sound of Thunder. I have been to Arizona, but no paranormal places in Arizona. See, okay. FUKSIA 61 in TikTok, is a person cursed if bad things happen often? Again, the thing here, let me explain. I look at the logic first. Logic is always first, always. And when you say is someone cursed because bad things always happen, my first immediate response is not going to be yes. Because a lot of people say, absolutely, yes, you're cursed. Really? You don't even know. And you're making someone worried but people are doing that a lot. Yes, you're cursed. Well, really? And what proof do you have of that? So for me, I would say no. I don't think it's always a curse because something bad thing, because I look at the logical first. For example, there was a person who came to me once and said, my wife left me, I lost my job, and my dog also ran away. Why is God punishing me? And he was very angry, very angry. I mean, I lost my job. I had a high-paying job, and I lost it. My wife just up and left me. Now my dog's gone. Now, immediately people would say, oh, you're cursed. You're cursed by the demons. You're cursed by the demons. Immediately people are going to do that because they want to scare people. And people did say that. Actually, he went to psychics. He went to people who psychics and mediums. And these psychic mediums says, oh, yes, you have a major curse. You have a major curse on you, but I can help you. It's going to take at least 5 or 6 more sessions at $150 a session. Okay. Right. Okay, so he comes to me after he spends $1,500 on this expert who was going to remove this curse because he's having a hard time. It's $1,500 he spent because this psychic saw the demon attached to him and was going to remove it. Oh, shut up. That kind of stuff drives me crazy because it's just nonsense. Because here's what happened. After I spoke to him for about a half an hour, and he told me his whole entire story, he said, so, Bishop, since you're the bishop, how much is it going to cost for you to perform this? I need an exorcism because the psychic told me that I have a demonic attached to me. And after spending $1,500 on this with this psychic, now they said that the demon was too tough, too difficult to get rid of. And I need to go see an exorcist. So how much is it going to cost? I'm like, well, after you just spent half an hour telling me your story, it's going to cost you absolutely nothing. All right, great. How do I get to you? Are you going to come to me? No. What do you mean? I got a demon attached. No, you don't. You just said you lost your job. Yeah, that's right. But you also spent 15 minutes explaining to me how you came into work drunk. Constantly, you were intoxicated. You were written up all the time, and you gotten warnings. You lost your job because you came in intoxicated. Then you tell me that your wife left you. That's right. Yeah, your wife left you because she found you cheating on her with another woman. Your dog left. Yeah, that's right. Because you left the gate open. So now I just helped you explain everything to you logically, and it didn't cost you a dime. And he realized he'd been had. He realized he had been deceived by this person who claims to be a psychic, who can help. And I say, because I do believe there are people who are gifted, but this person obviously is as a psychic as my microphone. It was just they're just ripping them off. That's all it is. That's all it is. They're ripping them off. They saw a buck. When that person came, they saw a dollar sign. That's exactly what they saw. There was no demon attached to him. He got fired because he came in drunk all the time at work. His wife left him because he cheated on his wife with another woman. And his dog ran away because he left the gate open. No demon involved. Just bad choices. That's what happens. Those are the consequences. Don't go into work drunk. Don't cheat on your wife. And next time you have a dog, do yourself a favor and lock the gate. That's how I operate. So, and again, some people are thinking, man, that's kind of rough. It's not rough. What's rough is me, oh, well, yeah, I can help you for $5,000. Sure, I can help you. And then go over there and, do some chanting and all this other stuff. And then in the end, he's not going to be any better, except for now he's minus another $5,000. See, that's wrong. That's just evil. That's pure evil. That, to me, you want proof that the demons exist? That's demonic. If anybody does that to another human being, that's demonic. That's evil. You don't do that to somebody. But that happens quite often. It's happening all the time. Now, is he under what's called the ordinary demonic activity? Well, certainly. I could certainly say that. Ordinary demonic activity is when the demonic will tempt you to do things like, for example, let's say that you have a problem with lust. And what the demonic will do through ordinary demonic activity, well, you can just go ahead and ask her for your phone number. That's not going to hurt you. So you can just ask her what she's doing tonight. You're just hanging out. So, okay, fine. But that's not possession. That's called ordinary demonic activity, where the demonic is leading you down the wrong path, but you have the free will to say, no, I'm not going to talk to that woman because I am married. So that's not possession. That's a bad choice. There's choices. We can't blame everything on the demons. We have to look at our own choices and our own free will. That we have the whole idea of trying to find a scapegoat for our actions. Take responsibility for your actions. If you got fired on your job, stop drinking. Get help with the drinking. If your wife left you because you cheated, well, maybe you shouldn't cheat. If you're having problems with a relationship, that happens. Relationship, you have good and bad days, then go get a counseling for it. To me, look at the logical stop for the 100th millionth time. Stop putting demons here and God here. How many times have I said that? I am so sick and tired of saying this. Stop putting demons here and God here. That gets on my nerves. It really does. It's irritating because then I say to someone, have you prayed? Oh, well, yeah. What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah. What is that supposed to mean? Why are you putting demons so elevated above God? Why are you doing this? That's actually a red flag for me. That's a red flag. We got this whole idea that demons here and God's down here. Where did it come from? This victimization crap. Got to stop. And I told you, and I've told people a million times, you keep victimizing yourself. You keep on. Well, I pray, nothing happens, or I call upon them, nothing happens. Because you don't, where's your faith? It doesn't happen by magic. It's not a magic spell. That doesn't work. Now, Well, thank you very much, Mr. And for those of you who are offering TikTok, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You can't just you got where you. Jesus said, if you had faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Where is the faith? It doesn't. There's no magic spell that you can do. You have to have faith in God and stop victimizing yourself. Stop it. I understand if you're in a demonic attack, I get it, but you need to stop putting demons here and putting God here. The moment that the name Yeshua, well, that's very pretty, Shane, enough of that. The moment you say Yeshua, the moment you call upon the saints above in heaven, the moment that you call upon God's name, you need to know and believe that demon who you have elevated here and God is here is. What do you expect them to do if you have no faith in what you're doing, what you're saying? If you have faith and strong faith in God, the moment that you mention God's name, that demonic will tremble. This victimization, this putting, I'm being attacked by demons and God's not helping. If you want God's help, then you need to start believing him. If you want God's help, then you need to have a bit more faith. And again, I'm not picking on people. I understand that people are frightened, but I'm telling you what I am seeing all day, every single day. The moment that I ask someone, have you prayed? Yeah. So the moment that I say prayer, But the demon's doing this and this and this. Have you prayed the Saint Michael? No, yeah. Do you see the imbalance there? It's very, very animated. When talking about demons, very animated. But the moment that I say, have you prayed the Our Father? Yeah, but that didn't do anything. But the demons, that's what's happening. And it's like, what are you expecting? Again, whether or not people, I'm the type of person that shoot from the hip. Most of you guys know this. Some people like that and some people don't. But it's time to put a little bit more faith. And I'm not implying that you guys don't have faith. It's not what I'm implying. But it's if you had the faith of a mustard seed, Jesus said we could move mountains. So if we have a faith of a mustard seed that can move mountains, then if you have a faith that's smaller than a mustard seed, then you should easily, by praying to God and calling upon God's help, make demons terrified. If not, then you need to rethink this whole demons here, God here. And I think perhaps, I don't know why it is. I don't know. Maybe people are so inundated with so many of the television shows or the movies or something. I don't know what it is, but it just, that's why when people ask me, am I scared of demons? No. Why would I be scared of a demon? Why? What that to me, I don't understand the concept. I don't understand the concept of being scared of a demonic entity. I don't understand that. It's literally like you're speaking another language to me. I don't. When someone asks me that question, it's like I can't wrap my brain or even around the question because it's so weird. Why would I be? See, even when I'm trying to understand the concept of being fearful of a demonic entity, I don't understand it. Why? Why would I be? Why? I have nothing to be afraid of a demonic entity for. Nothing. They're parasites. They're cockroaches. Why would I, a child of God, why would I be afraid of a demonic entity? Why? Explain that to me. Explain why I would be afraid of a parasite. Why would I be afraid of something that knows that in the very end, it's going to be thrown in the lake of sulfur? In the very end, when I begin to invoke the name of Christ, it shudders in fear. Why on God's green earth would I be fearful of a demonic entity? The moment I bow my head, and the moment the demon says, oh, I got him beat, and the moment that I raise my head and say amen, then that's the moment that the demonic entity says, oh, hell. Oh, that's not good. You see, why would I be afraid of a demonic entity? It doesn't make sense to me. Why? No, of course not. Of course not. No way. That doesn't frighten me. Nothing. It makes me, the only thing it does make me is makes me angry that these parasites, and they're parasites, they're cockroaches, that these little parasite cowards like to attack people and the most vulnerable. And that's what a bully does. That's what a coward does. So it will attack you when you're at your most vulnerable. And it then attacks you, and it causes. That's what irritates me. It doesn't. I'm not fearful of any demon. I'm not fearful of Satan. Why would I be fearful of Satan? Let me give you a little hint. Satan is not created in the image of God. When Satan sees you, when Satan sees me, Satan should see God. Because we are created in the image of God. We are God's children. Satan should fear us. We shouldn't. Why would we fear Satan? I don't know. I don't. Nope, not at all. But it does irritate me what Satan does and what evil does to people. Now that irritates me. That's the only thing that really does irritate me. I don't like that. You're right. Satan was defeated the moment Jesus accepted the cross and said, "It is finished." That was it. Okay. Have you ever heard of this? I'm sure most of you have. As a matter of fact, I believe the house is for sale. But I'm not really 100% sure. Should we as clergy not be afraid of demons? Well, no, we shouldn't be afraid of demons. Absolutely not. No, you should not fear demons at all. Because the moment that here's the secret, folks. The moment that you fear demons is the moment that they've already beaten you. Do you not understand that? Because they're going to prey on that fear. They're going to amplify that fear. They're going to use that fear that you have of them to cause you to be even more fearful. No, you don't feed into that. Have you ever heard of this? The Axe Murder House. For those of you who don't know that, I've never been there either. I've maybe some of you have, but listen to this. This is pretty interesting. The Wasilla Axe Murder House in Wasilla, Iowa, is a well-known tourist attraction for ghost hunters and horror lovers alike. Now, the site of a gruesome, unsolved. It's still unsolved, even after all these years. It was 1912. A 1912 murder in which 6 children and 2 adults had their skulls completely crushed by the axe of an unknown perpetrator. Now, it was purchased in 1994, was restored to its 1912 condition and converted into a tourist destination. It cost, that's a lot of money. It cost $428 a night to stay at the old haunted home, where visitors always report strange paranormal experiences, such as visions of a man with an axe roaming the halls or the faint screams of children. But in November of 2014, the haunting took a darker turn. Robert Stephen Larson, Jr., 37, of Wisconsin, was on a regular recreational paranormal visit when friends and true horror struck, per Vice. So what it says here is his companions found him stabbed, Larson, in the chest, an apparently self-inflicted wound. called 911, and Larson was brought to a nearby hospital before being helicoptered to Creighton University Medical Center in Omaha. Now, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office said Larson suffered the self-inflicted injury at about 12:45 a.m., which is around the same time, allegedly, that the 1912 axe murders in the house began. Larson recovered from his injuries, but has never spoken publicly about what occurred that day. Now, for Martha Lynn, the owner of the home, the incident was very upsetting. It's publicity, but it's not exactly the kind of publicity you desire to have. I don't want people thinking that when they come to the Vasilla Axe murder house, something's going to happen that's going to make them do something like that. And the house remains open, from what I understand, for tourist visits and overnight stays. Here's the problem. Let me just say something about this, because people always ask me about paranormal investigations. Folks, look. And this is not going to make me a popular person, but again, I don't do this for popularity. I do this for what I experience in my perspective as what I see in my experience as an exorcist. And I'm here to tell you that places like this, you need to stay away from. Just stay away from it. Places that are known to have alleged demonic activity. And again, I've never been to this place. I've never been there. So I can't really tell you if there's a demonic entity that's present or not. I don't know. I've never investigated. I don't know. I can tell you what people have said, but again, I can't validate what they're telling you or telling me. Oh yeah, now Sallie House is a bit different. Sallie House, my team went to Sallie House, and one of the investigators had a crucifix, and a crucifix actually burnt into his chest. A third-degree burn, in which you can still see the third-degree scar, or the scar of the crucifix that was embedded in his skin. The Sallie House is no joke. But I don't know if there's a demonic in there. I don't know. But I can tell you, folks, listen to this. Sallie House is in Kansas. It's a pretty crazy place. And maybe I don't know if I should do a show on some of the most haunted locations in the United States. Maybe we'll do a show on that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, the Sallie House, it's in Atchison, Kansas, and one of the investigators that was there, actually, he had a crucifix on, and the crucifix, the necklace actually embedded into his chest. I mean, like a third-degree burn. It actually embedded. So when he pulled it off, you could see this. It was terrible. And again, he still has that scar even today. Will be there permanently. Yeah, because that's a desecration of religious objects, and so that would be pretty crazy things. But let me just say this. Oh, you know what? Do I have the picture of the demon? I didn't have it prepared. I can scroll through and see really, really, really fast. And yeah, we captured an amazing picture. And let me see if I can scroll through here. I'll give it a few more seconds, and if I can't, I'll have to do it. I'll do a show maybe on haunted locations, and I'll have it ready. But there was a picture that we captured. It was at the Sallie House, and that was a pretty crazy. That really is a crazy. But I got thousands and thousands of. Oh, here it is. Well, I don't see the black and white one, because you really need the black and white one. Yeah, the Sallie House is definitely no place. It's not a place to joke around or play around with. And what I was saying is, if you go to any place that has alleged demonic activity, just stay away from it. And I know people are going to say, well, they want to experience it. Well, what are you going to do when you do? I mean, what are you going to do then? When you actually are in the presence of a demonic entity, now what? It's one of those the things of be careful what you ask for, because if you do something and you accidentally summon something, and then that thing, I'll have to look at it. I'll do it on another show. But yeah, it was a pretty intense. It was a pretty intense picture, but we'll do it later. I've never met Gabriel Amorth. Now, I was able to speak to Father Gary Thomas, and Father Gary Thomas is who the movie The Right. If you've ever seen the movie The Right with Anthony Hopkins, it's based on his life, and I had the opportunity to speak to him a couple of times, and that was pretty. The Right. People ask me all the time about movies. I don't watch possession movies because, quite honestly, most of them are junk and utter nonsense. But The Right is truly one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life, because if you really want to see what an exorcist goes through, it really does show you our perspective of things. And I loved it because it wasn't sensational. It wasn't, I don't know, it's not a word, but Hollywoodized. I mean, it was very, very good. Very, very good. So I would strongly suggest that that you definitely do that. What is that? Lamb House with a guy named Kent. Real good evidence capture. I'm not really for sure what house you're referring to. The thing is I contact people. I do contact people on TikTok when I do the TikTok videos. But if they aren't following me, it's hard to get in touch with them. So I'll do a that's one of the reasons why I like doing a lot of duets on TikTok, because if they see it, then hopefully they can contact me, and I'd be more than happy to help. But I can't obviously do anything unless they're willing to reach out. So, it's kind of like it's one of those things that Waverly. I love Waverly Hills. I love Waverly. Waverly is one of the most amazing places. Amazing places. Historically, see, I love the historical aspect of I love history. So not only is Waverly impressive, I mean, it's a huge, gigantic building in Louisville, Kentucky. It's massive. So when you go up the hill and you see this big building, it's like, whoo! I mean, it's overwhelming. It's so huge. But I love the history of it. Love it. It was a tuberculosis clinic. It's been several places, several hospitals, but it was the epitome. It was the place to go to if you had tuberculosis. And so the history of it, pretty darn amazing. It's a gym. It's a real gym in Kentucky. It's just one of those places. If you've never been, I just love the history. I just absolutely love the history. And keep in mind, people are asking me questions. Keep in mind that I have questions on TikTok. I have questions on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, and people are sending me messages on instant messages. So I get it. I promise you, it's not because I'm ignoring your questions, or it's just I'm being slammed with a lot of questions right now. And so I can only read, obviously, so much. So just please understand that it's not, yeah, Crescent Hill certainly is. I don't, people ask me, I don't get on social media. I think people think that I live on social media. I don't. I post what I need to post on social media, and I get off of social media because I have responsibilities for the church, responsibility for the Benedictines, responsibility for this, responsibility for Bible study. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I'm a chaplain for the hospital. So I don't know if you ask me, hey, look, did you hear about this? Or no, I don't know. I have no idea what you're referring to, because I wish I had more time, but I don't have that time. I wish I did, but I don't. It's just one of those things when you're, I guess when you're a bishop, you got a lot of responsibilities. And so that's why. So people are asking me, have you heard about this? Have you heard about I'm sorry, I have not. So I just forgive me, but it's not it's just one of those things. And I wish I knew more. I'll try to do my best to read up on some of the things that people are asking about, but anyway, that's it. Okay. Myrtle's Plantation. I have not, but my team has. Myrtle's Plantation is supposed to be a pretty amazing place. But I've not been there. But what I was saying, guys, look, like, for example, Gates of Hell Cemetery in Kentucky. It was named the Gates of Hell because I'm the one who named it the Gates of Hell Cemetery. Actually, my team was. And the story is why I was saying in 2003, when nobody in the paranormal ever heard of this place, because it's an old abandoned cemetery off the beaten road. No one even knew it existed. But we were asked if we would go and bless it because a lot of bad things happen. I got to tell you, when we went there and investigated and did the blessing, all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose in that place. And that is one place you should stay very, very far away from. I've said this before, it makes Bobby Mackey's like you're walking in Walt Disney World. Bobby Mackey's has nothing on the gates of hell. Inevitably, people will, let's go. Folks, I'm telling you, please don't, because then you're going to call me and you're going to want me to clean up the mess when all hell breaks loose in your home. It just happened already today. I got called. I watched your TikTok. I went to the gates of hell. I've told people, don't do it. Don't go. Don't go. And now the person is dealing with major activity in their home. Well, you shouldn't have gone. It's a bad place. It truly is. So if you know that a place has a history of demonic activity, and certainly a current status of stay away from it. Stay away. Yeah, that's a good question, Manny. It is, and the reason is because what happens is people go right back, and then they do some things. They open portals. They do satanic rituals, and it starts all over again. It's the same thing what happened to Bobby Mackey's. I'm telling you, it was really interesting because the team contacted me and they were angry because it was a week after Ghost Adventures when I did the minor rite of exorcism, and I blessed the Bobby Mackey's, and I used incense, and I really smoked it up. I mean, it was bells and smells, as we call it in the seminary, bells and smells. And a week afterwards, a team went in, did an investigation, and they said, Bishop, we could still smell the smoke, and nothing happened. That's the point. That's the point of doing the minor rite of exorcism. Unfortunately, people went right back in and did some things that they maybe should not have done, and the activity is increasing again. But that's what happens, and that's one of the reasons why I always need to know if there's demonic activity in someone's home. As an exorcist, I always have to find out what started it. How did it begin? Was there a pre-haunting or infestation? Did the people move into a home that already had an infestation? Or did they do something they shouldn't have done? Like playing with a Ouija board. Where was the invitation? It's very important for me to find this out because I can perform 1 million minor rite of exorcisms, and then people will continue to do the same thing they shouldn't do, and then obviously demonic activity will increase, and they want to know why. Well, stop doing what you're doing. But it happens quite often, and that's a problem. Well, you're trained. You become trained, and then once you're trained, please understand that being an exorcist was not something that I chose. Now, people immediately are confused about that statement. I didn't choose to be an exorcist. I accepted God's call to be an exorcist. I didn't choose it. Well, thank you, man. I didn't choose it. I didn't choose this lifestyle. I accepted this lifestyle because God has called me to serve in this ministry. This was not something that I sought out at all. Never once did I say, oh, I'm going to be an exorcist. Nope. As a matter of fact, in the paranormal, me and Father Andrew Calder were the only ones 20 years ago. There were no other. We were there. There was no other clergy helping the paranormal community. None. And Father Andy Calder, he was an Episcopalian, and he, again, wasn't called to serve as an exorcist. He performed the minor rite of exorcism, but as far as the solemn rite, performing an exorcism on individual, he was not called to do that. So 20 years ago, That's one of the main reasons why I went public with my ministry, not because I wanted to, but because I had friends in the paranormal, and they were telling me, James, there was nobody there helping the paranormal community. I know because I was there. And the way we communicated was through Yahoo groups. There was no Facebook or Twitter or YouTube and all this other stuff. It was Facebook groups. That's how we communicated in the paranormal community. It was very slow, but that's how we did it. And there were no other clergy. We were present. We know. Well, he's passed since. So when I went public with my ministry, I didn't really know how to. There's no book. There was no book on how to be a paranormal exorcist or how to be an exorcist and serving the paranormal community. There was no book on how to do it. I went to the training. I was a priest. Was consecrated to the episcopacy. I chose to accept God's call, and I went public with my ministry because the paranormal had no clergy helping besides Andy, and that's how it all started. And so now it seems like everybody and their brother is calling themselves an exorcist, and that kind of concerns me a little bit. But I don't know Peter. I don't know Peter Glass. But keep in mind. Well, thanks, Shane. Keep in mind. There's so many people now. I just don't know them, But I have noticed that a lot of people are claiming to be exorcists and saying, "Well, I've been doing this for 35 years." No, you haven't. I was there. I know who was there 20 years ago. I mean, the paranormal community was a relatively small community 20 years ago. It wasn't a huge community like it is now. It was relatively small, and there weren't a whole lot of groups at that time. But that's the only way we communicated. That was it. So yeah, but yeah, that's right. Thank you, and again, thank you so much for the gifts on TikTok. I appreciate that. I really do. Something happened to me a couple of days ago. Well, you can post it, but I can't promise you that I'll be able to read it because there's so many people asking. Did I have any paranormal experiences growing up? Yes. My sister Shannon Long 30 is actually in the chat room as well on TikTok. Speaking of Shannon Long 30, are you going to go live when we go off here? If you let me know there. Shannon Long 30, and I'll tell you the story about growing up. Yep, Shannon Long 30. Shannon Long 30. Okay, so she's gone. Okay. Well, the sulfur, the reason is sulfur because Revelation talks about how the demonic entities will be thrown into the lake of sulfur. And so that's why sulfur is often coincides with demonic entities. Shannon will tell you she's in the chat room and TikTok. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about my childhood. I will talk about a dream that was consistent that I had often. I don't mind because it's in my book actually, so I don't mind sharing that. So this house that we lived in was pretty bad, really bad, and it seemed to have gotten worse after this. So I dreamt that I was in the. I had a basement. That was my room because I liked it cold, and so it was a finished basement. And in the dream, I woke up, and there was someone lying on the cot. And I walked over, and I thought, it looks familiar. And it would look to me like Christ. He had a crown of thorns. His face was his hands. It looked like the color of the top part of a great white shark. Kind of like a grayish kind of color to it. He had longer nails. I saw the wounds, and he was bleeding from the crown of thorns. And I reached down to his hand, and he opened his eyes. They were bloodshot red, and he rose up. And his exact words were, "What the hell are you looking at?" So immediately, I obviously knew this was not Christ. This was an overwhelming fear, intense fear. And so I grabbed my first communion crucifix that I had on the wall that we get in my first communion, and I held it up against him. That was my first instinct. And with this left hand, he just looking right at me, crushed it, and it turned to ash. But his hands were bleeding from crushing the crucifix, and you could see the droplets on the floor. And as he crushed it, it would turn into ash, and it fell on the floor. And he, with a smirk, he just looked right at me, not blinking, not batting an eye. Is that supposed to hurt me? I died on the stupid A thing. Well, obviously, I knew, oh, this is not a good thing. So I ran upstairs. I told my mom. She then called the local parish priest, who was a Franciscan, and he came running down, coming over our house. It was very fast. Obviously, this was a dream, and he began performing the solemn rite of exorcism. Now, of course, I didn't know it was the solemn rite, but now I understand what prayer. What was interesting is I had never studied the solemn rite of exorcism until that time, never. But now that I know the words and I remember the words that he prayed, I now know he was actually praying the solemn rite, which was very, very interesting to me, because the more I think about that, it's like, wow, that's how would I know that? Because I didn't study the solemn rite, not at that age. And anyway, he was doing this, and this thing was screaming in pain. And he reached his hand out, and I couldn't see much except for almost like a fog. And he reached his hand out. His nails were rather lengthy at this time, but the screaming he was in such torture, and I wanted it to stop. I just wanted the pain for this thing, even though I clearly knew it was bad. I wanted them to stop. I didn't want anything. I don't want to see anything in pain. So I reached out of compassion, I think, more than anything. And that's when I woke up. And I couldn't breathe. It was like something had just punched me in the chest, and I had a hard time breathing. So I was up, I was awake, wasn't sleep paralysis. I was completely aware, fully functional, having a hard time breathing. Finally, I caught my breath. I noticed that the first communion crucifix was about 10 feet or so from me on the floor, and I looked over to the right, and there, clear as day, full body of this Jesus figure, full body right there. His blood was dripping on I don't know if, I can't remember if it was marble or whatever down the floor. I can't remember, but blood was dripping, just pouring down from it, drip all over the floor. And he just kind of gave this smirk, and he just faded away. And of course, my mom was very angry with me the next day, because she thought I had done something to the floor, like played with paint. I don't know what it was, but she couldn't get the stains off the floor. So they ended up putting carpet, because it would cost more money to tear all that stuff up than just to put carpet. So they had to put carpet on that particular part. But that stain is still there even to this day. But that house was always very haunted, but it was incredibly intense, incredibly intense afterwards. Yeah, that was a bad. Yeah, it was a bad moment. I don't know if that was a moment to prepare me to what I do today, but it was certainly something that even today, if you go to that place, you will feel very overwhelmed if you go down that basement. It's a pretty intense place. But they did everything. They tried every type of cleaning you can think of, and the only option was to remove it. And that would have cost a lot of money, because then they have to match that. I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was marble or what it was on that floor. I like to ask I don't know. But maybe my sister knows. I don't know if it was marble but it would have cost too much for them to match the same flooring that they had. And so it was much cheaper just to put carpet down. That's what they did. But yeah, it's pretty heavy. And if you go down, if you went downstairs in that area, yeah. Well, I've never been to Nolens. I'd love to go, but I actually had a case in Louisiana it was a minor rite of exorcism that I had to go and do that in Louisiana. But I was about 40 minutes or so from New Orleans, but I had another case that I had to get back to Kentucky. I don't know if it was Satan. I don't know. But I know it was very intense. And that was a very intense experience. I still have the crucifix. Yeah, I still have the first communion crucifix. I still have it. It's in my safe. As a matter of fact, the nail on the feet came off. I don't know what happened to it. I have no clue what happened to it, but the nail on the feet, so I had to be very careful because it's obvious it's old, because a long time ago I received my first communion, but I still have that. I still have the first communion crucifix. You can go to bishopjameslong.com and just click on the store link and scroll down, but you order it directly, I think, from the distributor if you want to buy the book. But Bishop James Long. Yep. So anyway, I don't know. No, the family doesn't own that house anymore, and thankfully, because it just that's a bad place. Yeah, that was pretty. If you were to go down there, it would be overwhelming. I guess. I mean, I haven't been there since a long time, but it was pretty heavy. Pretty heavy, pretty heavy. Yeah, and again, don't forget, everybody, Bishop James Long, LONG.com. And again, for one more time, I do have the Benedictine necklace there. This really is a beautiful necklace. I don't have a lot of them, so I have no idea how many people purchased. You might maybe 4 or 5, I don't know. But there's the necklace. There is the front, and it does have the back. And yes, I will bless this for you for free. And no, you're not buying a blessed item. You're buying an item, and I bless it for you as a courtesy. But it isn't real. I have it. I own one. I wear it. I love mine. And so, yeah, check it out. Go to bishopjameslong.com and click on the store link. Okay. Well, I mean, my Bible disappeared from my bedside. I can't explain it. Can you help as to why? I can't. And the reason is because I wasn't there. I don't have investigation. I don't have the video. I don't have anything. So for me, I would hate to speculate, because that's the problem. There's too many speculation going on for people who, when it comes to demonic entities, they immediately say demon, 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 and then they scare you. And that's what's happening a lot, because now all of a sudden people are they watch YouTube videos and now they're experts in demonology, and they're scaring people. Oh, you got a demon. You got a demon. Well, how do you know they got a demon? I mean, really, seriously, how do you know that? That's kind of, I don't know about that. So I don't know. Without investigating, I would hate to speculate. Hopefully you understand. By the way, for those of you, this is from Spectrum News 1. I think I would like to see this. This would be pretty interesting. Halloween in April. This is by Heather Fordham. So for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, well, I'll tell you right now. Paranormal Cirque brings spooky vibes to Raleigh, North Carolina. If you're in North Carolina area, listen to this. From the spinning wheel of death to a motorcyclist on a zip line suspended in the air, there are no limits to the acts performed at the Paranormal Cirque. The show is presented by Cirque Italia, a traveling horror-themed presentation. The show is making a stop in Raleigh in the International Foods Plaza off Olympia Drive from yesterday, April 7th, all the way through Sunday, April the 10th. So if you're in the area, you only have until Sunday. So the show is rated for a mature audience, 13 and up, by the way, and teenagers must be accompanied by adults. If you want tickets, can be purchased at the Paranormal Cirque website. By the way, Cirque is CIRQUE. So for those of you who want to check it out, I think it would be, for me, it would be interesting to check out, just to be able to let you guys know what I think about it. Now, by the way, and I'm going to kind of go through some of these pretty quickly, because I really wanted to get some of this over and let you guys know about some of these things that I found online, which are very cool. This also is coming from a website as a news, WSAZ.com. For those of you who would like to make an extra few dollars in your pocket, this company wants to pay you. They're wanting to pay you to watch 24 hours of true crime shows. Listen to this if you're interested. This is by Andrew McMunn, MUNN. Yep, thanks very much. So the Magillan, MAGELLAN TV. Magillan TV is looking for a true crime fanatic to take on a 24-hour true crime marathon. The streaming service company is willing to pay you $100 an hour. Now, this is coming from, again, WSAZ.com, a news site. So Magillan's TV ideal candidate is someone who can handle the most menacing serial killer, the goriest details, and doesn't flinch at the chilling paranormal. Now, they would also have to be willing to stream true crime shows nonstop for 24 hours while documenting their experience on social media. The candidate will have to watch 32 true crime shows with a 48 hours given to complete the job. Now, the chosen winner will receive $2,400 if the job requirements are completed and a 1-year free membership of Magillan TV. Runner-ups will also get a 1-year free membership to all Magillan TV. It's a $60 value. So if this sounds like you are wanting to do this, this is what you need to do. You need to visit Magillan's TV website to apply. And again, let me give you the name of that Magillan TV. It's MAGELLAN TV. Okay? Magillan or Magillan TV. You got to go, just Google it, MAGELLAN TV. And that's where you go. And you can apply. Hey, that'd be very cool. If one of you actually gets chosen, that would be amazing. I would love to hear your story, and you can tell me what you think about that. That would be very, very cool. For those of you who are on Spreaker, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys, and I'll see you guys a little later for night prayer. Okay, now our friends on Spreaker is saying arrivederci. Hopefully you guys have had a very, very good time. I've had a great time as well. I'm going to stay on TikTok for just a little bit longer once the show is over. So if you want to come over to visit us on TikTok, you can certainly do so. Remember, I only have one channel on TikTok. That's it. And that's Bishop James Long. That's it. No other channel. That's what I have. And so you're certainly more than welcome to come over there. Remember, I tell you, always make sure we have night prayer tonight. Okay. Spreaker.com/show/night prayer. Night prayer is all one word. And you're more than welcome to come on over and visit us. Don't forget bishopjameslong.com. And don't forget also go to KGRADB.com. KGRADB.com. And make sure you put Bishop in your promo code, and you can get 30% off your subscription. My friends, I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, you're priceless, and don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Good night to you guys. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.